What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the gray area. This is your host, ItsThatKidGreg. So, this is kind of a follow-up video to my last one about guns, where at the end I mentioned how I felt like the conversation was going to get derailed to talk about gun control. And sure enough, I was right, which sucks. I don't like being right about things of that nature, but the reason why I'm doing this video, and I was gonna try and plan something a little more lighthearted to talk about, but um, recent events have caused me to wanna do this little audio follow up instead. I want to talk about the Young Turks and specifically why I think they are probably like one of the worst news outlets on any platform right now. I've been subscribed to the Young Turks for a long time now. When I first started watching them, I liked them a lot. I thought that they were pretty spot on with what they talked about and their views on it. I didn't always agree with them, but I always felt, like if I had to see something in the news, I preferred it coming from them. But recently, I've noticed how absolutely disgusting their levels of bias and cognitive dissonance is. They recently did a piece. They did a few pieces actually, where they talked about the Orlando shooting, and they talk mainly about how Christians are just as bad as Muslims, and nobody should be saying that the no one should have the right to say that this shooting was caused even in part by the culture that comes with Islam, at least the extreme versions of Islam. And they constantly reference something that Giuliani said, where he said, look, Western culture has advanced, and these aspects of their culture these aspects of their culture that tells them, oh yeah, execute gays, don't give women rights, are barbaric, which you would think that the left would be able to agree with. I mean, they are usually the ones on the forefront to protect women and LGBT folk. But for this case, for whatever reason, it seems like, oh, no, no, no. You can't talk bad about Islam. You can't talk bad about Muslims. Which, and I get it. I get, they don't want to spread xenophobia, and they don't want people to just blindly hate somebody because of their religion or their culture, which is fine. But, if there's truth to the statement, you shouldn't just be sitting there saying, "Oh no, it has nothing to do with this. It has nothing to do with this. It's all about our American problems with guns. It's all about American gun culture," which is, as I said, it's totally derailing the entire thing from what really happened. What this was, because we found out that the shooter, who I will not name because he doesn't deserve that, we found out that this shooter was potentially a closeted homosexual man who frequently visited this nightclub that he shot up, and he had self-hatred. Like, he couldn't handle it. And that's not because of America. He was raised in a very Islamic household, and he himself probably didn't see himself as very religious, but think about how that must affect somebody. Like, think about the levels of cognitive dissonance that somebody would feel, where their parents and their religion and their culture, everything that they've ever believed in, says, oh yes, this is wrong, these people should be put to death. But then on the inside, you're one of them. Like, the level of self hatred. So like it must have been ridiculous, and it shows because he was able to go out and do something like this. From my perspective, what it seems like is that this guy, he felt a need to, he had all this self-hatred pent up from years of holding on to this secret, and he probably felt like doing what he did and like pledging allegiance to ISIS and shooting up this club. He probably thought that it would in some way like redeem him in the eyes of his culture, in the eyes of his religion, in the eyes of his God. And that's, you know, that's messed up. It's messed up that he had to grow up like that. It's messed up he had to go through that. But to say that, you know, religion played no part of it is dumb. It's stupid. Because look, in Western culture, we have, you know, we have gay marriage, we have all this stuff. If somebody decide like, hey, look, this is who I am, then they can, like, even if their family doesn't accept them or their church doesn't accept them, they can go somewhere else. And this country, it has all of that. You know, there's people all over that's willing to accept them. Every school I've been in, barring like elementary school, has had a gay straight alliance. You know, this is everywhere. You can find, they're not in the United States and most Western countries. Yeah, you have some people who still are wary of this. You know, it's a very, very traditional people who look at this and they go, ugh, I don't know. But generally speaking, most people are cool. They don't, like, most people just live and let live. They may not agree with it. They may think, oh, this is, you're choosing to live this lifestyle and I can't be a part of that. But, you know, they live and let live. They don't go and shoot people. They don't go and attack people for how they live their lives. But if you look at these Middle Eastern countries that practice these type of horrible laws, they do go after you for living your life the way you want to live it, even if you're hidden in the closet. If it's found out that, you know, if you're a man that you like other men, or if you're a woman you like other women, they put you to death. I believe it says in the Quran that you're supposed to stone them to death. And there's plenty of like stories where they're throwing people off of buildings. Recently in Turkey, there was supposed to be a pride parade and they canceled it. And the Young Turks they sit here and they act like they try to conflate the downfalls of Christianity with the downfalls of Islam. And that's very intellectually dishonest. And the reason why this video is focused on the Young Turks is because I've noticed the pattern with this, you know, like especially in the past few years. You know, I don't always agree with what they have to say, but I usually respect their opinions. But lately they've just been all over the place with the bullshitting, with the BSing, man. And I don't think that that's cool. I specifically noticed this with Trump and Bernie. When Bernie lost California, and it looked like, well, that's like most people were throwing in the towel and saying, hey, you know what? It looks like Hillary Clinton's going to be the Democratic nominee. It looks like there's nothing that we can do about it. It was the Young Turks who backed him a lot. They helped get his message out. They interviewed him. He was on their show. And, you know, once this, you know, they always said, oh, you know, we're going to stick to the numbers. Like, if we see that he's not winning, that's fine. We're going to stick to the numbers. And they haven't talked about, oh, Bernie can still win. They've been very fair about that. But the minute it was apparent that Bernie doesn't stand much of a chance anymore, rather than talking about what we would like to see in the political world, like what they would like to see in the political world as progressives, instead they just attack Trump. You know, like every once in a while they'll say something about Hillary, but generally they just spend their time attacking Trump, which to me makes no sense because they, before Bernie essentially lost, I'm just going to say that from now on, before Bernie lost, they would say how, oh, the media constantly putting the spotlight on him for the ridiculous stuff he says is just making him a stronger candidate. And now it's like that's all they do. And it's ridiculous to me. It's so silly. It's so childish. Like, the fact that they call themselves journalists, the fact that they call themselves a news channel is truly despicable to me. Because they're not news. They're extreme left-wing. They're basically the Fox of the right. You know? They're the Fox News. They're the Fox of the left. They're the Fox News of the left now. And it's ridiculous because that's not what I subscribe to. You know? When I joined them, they were just a small... When I started watching them, I should say, they were a small little news channel, had left leanings, but they tried to stay fair. But now they're just all the way over the edge, and they constantly get these ridiculous guests to come on who don't know what they don't know what the hell they're talking about. And it's so silly and so stupid. You know, you have the one guy, Jimmy Dore, the comedian who comes on. He's always talking down on Rudy Giuliani. Oh, Rudolph Giuliani, how dare you call them barbaric for doing X, Y, and Z? Like, look, you don't know what you're talking about. You're a comedian. Like, political analysis is not your job, right? And that's not to say that comedians are stupid. There's plenty of comedians I respect. He's not one of them. Like, he sits there and he's talking about how Rudy Giuliani cuts down Islam and then says, oh, but Catholic priests used to touch boys, as if that's supposed to make it better. As if that's supposed to be as if that's like an excuse. Like, oh, that's literally like when I was in elementary school and you did something wrong and another kid did it too, and then you get in trouble but he didn't get caught, and you're like, oh, but he did it. It's like, okay, good job. Now you're both in detention. Like, just because you can point out that somebody else did something messed up doesn't mean that what the first person did is nullified. Like, and this is what they do all the time on the Young Turks, and it gets me so upset because every once in a while, this is the only reason I'm still subscribed to them. It's because every once in a while, and it's usually Cenk, you know, or Jank, or however they say his name. It's usually Jank. Sometimes it's Anna, but it's usually Jank. You'll hear something reasonable come out. They'll say something that sounds intelligent, that sounds well thought out, and is usually a smart idea. And you can see, like, they've been put in this position where they have to pander to the lowest common denominator of their audience, the idiot regressives that watch their show and post everything out as fact. And it's a show that's opinion, you know, and they have to pander to these idiots, and it just degrades the quality of the show. And that it truly makes me upset. And I honestly think, like, if someone over there doesn't get their hands back on the reins soon, it's going to spin out of control. And next thing you know, they're going to have their own version of Bill O'Reilly on that show. If they don't already, excuse me. And he's going to be just spouting out nonsense, and they're going to lose their views. They're going to lose a lot of the people that helped them get as far as they've gotten, which sucks. But anyway, that's all I have to say. Thanks for listening. This isn't really an official gray area thing, but I guess it can be added to the playlist. But just remember, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys with the next video. Thanks.